If you think you know what happens inside Sing Sing, think again. Hit subscribe, because this story was never supposed to get out. The alarm didn't stop. It echoed to the long concrete halls, bouncing off iron bars and locked doors. Sharp and urgent. Guards ran. Keys clashed. Voices shouted over each other. Lock it down. Full lockdown. Inside Sing Sing Correctional Facility, something had gone terribly wrong. It started with a count, a simple routine. Every night, every block, every inmate. Count the bodies. Check the cells. Everything normal. Everything controlled. But not tonight. Count's off, a guard said, his voice tight. Say again, another replied. Count is off. Silence fell for just a second, just long enough for fear to settle in. Because inside a prison like Sing Sing, a missing inmate isn't just a mistake. It's a crisis. Which block? C block. C block was older, darker, the kind of place where shadows felt thicker, where time moved slower. Officers rushed in. Flashlights cut through dim light. Metal doors rattled as they checked each cell. One door stood open. That was the first sign. Inside, the bed was made. Too neatly. Too perfectly. And the man who was supposed to be there was gone. His name was Marcus Hill, 32 years old, serving time for armed robbery. Quiet, kept to himself. No record of violence inside the facility, which made this even more confusing. Where is he? One officer whispered, because there were only two possibilities. He escaped, or something worse had happened. But escaping Sing Sing? That wasn't supposed to happen. The entire prison went into lockdown. Every inmate confined. Every movement stopped. And that's when they found the second sign. Not far from Marcus Hill's cell, there was something on the floor. A small trail. Not obvious. Not loud. But there. Dark stains leading toward the service corridor. The kind of place inmates weren't allowed. The kind of place that stayed locked. Always. Detective Elena Carter arrived before sunrise. She had seen a lot of cases. But prisons were different. Closed systems. Controlled environments. If something happened inside, someone always knew. She walked through the corridor slowly, eyes scanning everything. The walls, the floor, the doors. Start from the beginning, she said. The guards explained. The count, the missing inmate, the open cell, the trail. Carter didn't interrupt. She just listened. Then she stepped into Marcus Hill's cell. Everything looked normal. Too normal. She ran her hand along the wall. Cold. Solid. Then she looked at the bed. Perfectly made. Who makes their bed like this? She asked quietly. No one answered, because they all knew. Not inmates. Not like this. This wasn't routine. This was staged. Carter leaned closer, studied the pillow, the blanket, and then she saw it. A slight dip, like something had been placed there. Not slept on. Placed. She lifted the pillow. Nothing underneath. But the shape stayed in her mind. Something had been there. Something meant to fool the guards during count. She turned back toward the door. Show me the corridor. The service corridor was narrow, bare, dimly lit. It smelled different. Not like the rest of the prison. Cleaner. But something felt off. Carter followed the faint trail. Step by step. It led to a locked door. Heavy. Steel. Who has access to this? She asked. Maintenance and certain officers, a guard replied. Open it. The door creaked as it unlocked. Inside, darkness. Carter stepped in first. Flashlight raised. The beam moved slowly across the floor. The walls. The pipes running along the ceiling. Then it stopped. There, on the ground. Something out of place. A piece of fabric. Orange. Prison issued. Torn. Carter crouched down. Picked it up. Fresh. Not old. Someone came through here. She said, but the question was, who? Because this door was supposed to stay locked. Always. She stood up, moved deeper inside. The corridor split into two paths. One led toward maintenance tunnels. The other toward the administrative wing. Carter paused. Check both, she ordered. Officers split up, boots echoing in opposite directions. Minutes passed. Then a voice crackled over the radio. You need to see this. Carter turned. moved fast, following the voice, down the second path, toward the administrative side. The door at the end was slightly open. Another sign, another break in routine. She pushed it open slowly. Inside was a small room, used for storage, or records, but now it held something else. Carter stepped in, and stopped, because in the center of the room was a chair, and on that chair sat a uniform, a correctional officer's uniform, neatly folded, too neatly, just like the bed. Her eyes narrowed. "Whose is this?" she asked. No one answered immediately. Then one guard stepped forward, his face pale. That belongs to Officer Daniel Reeves." Carter turned sharply. "Where is he?" Silence. No one knew, because suddenly there weren't just one missing person. There were two, an inmate and a guard. The room felt colder, more dangerous. Carter walked closer to the uniform, careful, slow. Something caught her eye, a small object tucked inside the pocket. She reached in, pulled it out, a key card, standard issue, but scratched, marked, not random, intentional. She flipped it over and saw something written on the back. 3 words, faint but clear, not an escape. Carter stared at it, because that changed everything. This wasn't just an inmate running. This wasn't just a guard missing. This was something planned, something controlled, something happening inside a place where nothing was supposed to happen. And as Carter looked around that silent room, one question hit harder than all the others. If this was an escape, then what exactly had just begun? The word stayed in her mind. Not an escape. Detective Elena Carter stood in the quiet room, staring at the key card in her hand. The letters were scratched in, rough but deliberate, like someone didn't have much time but needed the message to last. Not an escape. Behind her, officers moved carefully, taking photos, collecting evidence, speaking in low voices. But Carter barely heard them, because if this wasn't an escape, then Marcus Hill didn't run. And Officer Daniel Reeves didn't just disappear. "Pull Reeves' file," Carter said. Within minutes, the records were on the table. Daniel Reeves, 41 years old, 10 years working inside Sing Sing. Clean record. No disciplinary actions. Respected. Trusted. Too clean. Carter flipped through the pages. Evaluations. Reports. Routine. Nothing stood out. But that didn't mean nothing was there. "Check his recent activity," she said. "Phone calls, access logs, everything." A tech officer nodded and got to work. Meanwhile, Carter turned her attention back to Marcus Hill. She studied his file again. Armed robbery. Sentence, 8 years. Time served, 3. No gang affiliations. No major conflicts inside. A quiet inmate. So why would something like this involve Marcus Hill? Unless he wasn't as invisible as he seemed. Who shared his block? Carter asked. A guard stepped forward. "There's one guy, Jamal Carter. Same tier, same work detail sometimes. Bring him in." Jamal Carter sat across from her an hour later. Mid-30s, calm, but his eyes kept moving, watching, measuring. "You knew Marcus Hill," Elena said. Jamal nodded slowly. "We talk sometimes." "About what?" "Just time, getting through it." Carter leaned forward slightly. "Did he ever say anything unusual?" Jamal hesitated. Just for a second, that was enough. "What is it?" Carter asked. Jamal sighed. "He said something a few days ago. He admitted." "What did he say?" "He said, they're not watching what they think they're watching." Carter's eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" Jamal shook his head. "I don't know. I asked him." He just laughed. "Anything else?" Jamal looked down, then back up. "He said if anything happened, I should stay quiet." The room went still. Why would he say that? Carter pressed. Jamal swallowed. "Because he said there are things happening in here that don't show up on reports." Silence. Because that wasn't just paranoia. That was a warning. Carter stood up. "Thank you," she said. But her mind was already moving ahead. Things happening that don't show up on reports. She walked straight to the tech station. "Tell me you found something," she said. The officer looked up. "We pulled Reeves' access logs," he said. "And they don't match his schedule." Carter leaned in. "Explain." "He accessed restricted areas multiple times this week. Areas he wasn't assigned to." "Which areas?" The officer hesitated, then pointed at the screen. Carter looked and felt a chill run through her. Maintenance corridors, storage rooms, and one more location. A section labeled Records Archive, Level 2. Carter frowned. "Take me there." The archive room was deeper inside the facility. Older, less used, the kind of place that held forgotten things. Boxes lined the walls. Dust settled on shelves. But something didn't feel right. Some boxes had been moved. Recently. "Who has access to this room?" Carter asked. "Very limited," a guard replied. "Mostly senior staff and Reeves sometimes." Carter stepped inside. Her eyes scanned the room. Then she saw it. One section of shelves. Empty. Not dusty. Not old. Cleared. "What was here?" she asked. The guard checked a clipboard. Old case records. Inmate files. Archive reports. "Which ones?" The guard flipped through pages, then stopped. Files related to internal incidents, complaints, investigations. Carter turned slowly. "Complaints against who?" The guard didn't answer. He didn't need to, because they both knew. Against the system itself. Carter walked closer to the empty space. Something small caught her eye. On the floor. She crouched down. A single page. Missed. Left behind. She picked it up carefully. The paper was worn, but readable. Her eyes moved across the text. And then she froze. Because this wasn't just a complaint. It was a report. Detailed. Specific. Describing unauthorized movements. Hidden access points. Unrecorded inmate transfers. And one name appeared again and again. Daniel Reeves. Carter's grip tightened on the paper. Reeves wasn't just missing. He was involved. Deeply. The pieces started to connect. Marcus Hill knew something. Reeves was accessing restricted areas. Files were missing. This wasn't random. This was a system. Hidden inside the prison. A system that operated outside official records. And now, something had gone wrong. Suddenly, shouting echoed from down the hall. "Detective!" Carter turned and rushed out. An officer was running toward her, breathing hard. "You need to come now," he said. "What is it?" "We found something in the maintenance tunnels." Carter didn't hesitate. She followed him. Fast. The tunnel was colder, darker, and deeper than before. Officers stood in a small circle. No one spoke. Carter stepped forward and saw it. A door, hidden behind pipes. Not on any map. Not in any record. A secret door. Her heart started to pound. "Open it," she said. One officer forced it. The door creaked open slowly. Darkness inside. Carter stepped forward. Flashlight raised. The beam cut through the black, revealing a small room. Concrete walls. No windows. And in the center, someone sitting on the floor. Hands tied. Head down. Carter moved closer. Slowly. Carefully. "Sir," she called out. The man didn't move. She stepped closer. And then she saw his face. Officer Daniel Reeves. Alive, but barely conscious. "Get him out," someone shouted. They rushed forward, cut the restraints, checked his pulse. He was breathing, weak, but alive. Carter knelt beside him. "Daniel, can you hear me?" she asked. His eyes fluttered open. Barely. He looked at her and whispered something. So quiet, she almost missed it. "They know." Carter leaned closer. "Who knows?" she asked. Reeves tried to speak again, but before he could, his eyes widened. Not at her, but at something behind her. Carter turned, and her heart dropped, because the door they had just opened was slowly closing from the outside, and someone was locking them in. The door slammed shut. A heavy final sound. Metal against metal. Locked. For a second, no one moved. No one spoke. Then everything exploded at once. "Open it." "Who's out there?" Officers rushed to the door, pulling, banging, shouting commands. Nothing. It didn't move, because whoever had closed it knew exactly what they were doing. Detective Elena Carter stood still, breathing slow, thinking fast. This wasn't panic. This was control. Someone had waited, watched them find the room, watched them step inside, and then seal them in. "They're still here," Carter said quietly. The words cut through the noise. Everyone stopped, because she was right. This wasn't something done from far away. This was happening now, inside the prison. "Find another way out," she ordered. Flashlights moved quickly across the walls. Pipes, corners. There had to be something. This room wasn't official, which meant it wasn't built to standard design. One officer tapped along the concrete, listening. "Here," he said, "a hollow sound." They pushed, pulled. A section of the wall shifted. A hidden panel. Carter felt it click into place in her mind. A system inside the system. Secret paths. Unrecorded rooms. Someone had been moving through this prison without ever being seen. The panel opened just enough. "Go," Carter said. One by one, they slipped through into a narrow passage. It was tight, dark, barely enough space to move, but it led somewhere, and that was all they needed. Behind them, the sealed room stayed silent. Reeves was carried carefully, still weak, still barely conscious, but alive, and he knew something. That was the only reason he hadn't been silenced. Yet, the passage twisted, turned, then opened into another corridor. But this one was familiar, too familiar. Carter stepped out first, looked around, and felt her chest tighten. They were back in C Block, right where this all started. But something had changed. The lights flickered, and every cell door was locked tight, except one. Marcus Hill's cell. Open. Again. Carter moved toward it slowly. The same perfect bed, the same stillness. But this time, something was different. On the wall, a message, scratched deep into the paint. She stepped closer and read it. "You were not supposed to find him." Carter's breath slowed, because this wasn't just a warning anymore. This was personal. "They're watching us," one officer whispered. Carter turned. "No," she said. "They're guiding us." Silence, because that was worse. Much worse. Reeves stirred behind them. A weak sound. Carter rushed back to him. "Daniel," she said softly. His eyes opened again. This time clearer. "They run it," he whispered. "Who?" Carter asked. Reeves swallowed. "Not the warden, not the guards." His voice trembled. "People outside using the prison." Carter's heart pounded. "For what?" she asked. Reeves looked at her, fear in his eyes. "To move things, people, information without records." The words hit hard. A hidden network, operating through a prison. Invisible, untouchable. And Marcus? Carter asked. Reeves shook his head weakly. He saw something he wasn't supposed to see. Carter felt the truth closing in. "They took him," she said. Reeves didn't answer, but his silence said enough. Suddenly, alarms blared again, louder than before. Different. Emergency override. Carter looked around. "What now?" an officer asked. Before she could answer, a voice came over the speaker system. Calm, controlled, lockdown complete. Carter froze. That wasn't the usual announcement. "Remain where you are," the voice continued. Then silence. No explanation. No instructions. Just control. Carter moved fast. "Get Reeves to medical. Now." Officers nodded, carrying him out, but Carter stayed behind. Her eyes locked on Marcus Hill's cell, because something wasn't right. Not finished. She stepped inside again, slower this time. Careful, her eyes scanned everything, then stopped. On the floor, something small, a piece of paper. Folded. She picked it up, opened it, and read. Her face changed instantly, because it wasn't a message. It was a list. Names. Dozens of them. Some marked, some not. And at the top, Marcus Hill. At the bottom, one name circled. Elena Carter. Her breath caught, because now she wasn't just investigating the system. She was inside it, part of it, a target. Footsteps echoed behind her. She turned fast. No one there, just the empty corridor. But she knew someone had been watching the entire time. The case was shut down 2 days later. Official report. No evidence of internal misconduct. Inmate presumed missing. Officer recovered. Case closed. Just like that. Files disappeared. Records changed. And Marcus Hill? Never found. Detective Elena Carter resigned 3 weeks later. No explanation. No statement. Just gone. Years passed. Sing Sing stayed open. Running. Operating. Normal. But sometimes, late at night, in the quiet moments between counts, some guards claimed they heard something. Footsteps where no one should be. Doors unlocking. Without keys. And once, a message scratched into a wall. 3 words. Still watching you. Because the truth about Sing Sing was never about one missing inmate or one corrupt officer. It was about something bigger. A system hidden in plain sight. And the most chilling part? It never stopped. If you think this story ends here, you're already part of it. Subscribe, because some truths don't stay buried.